The lonely mountain man hid a wounded pregnant Comanche woman in his ranch. Months later, her daughter called him Dad. Snow fell in thick, silent sheets outside the weather-beaten cabin perched high in the Rockies. Inside, Jack Harper sat alone beside a crackling fire, the only sound in the room the rhythmic creak of his old rocking chair. It had been 12 winters since his wife passed. Since then, the world had grown quiet, and so had Jack. A retired forest ranger and former combat medic, he had traded noise for nature, companionship for solitude. Until that night, when a desperate knock shattered the silence. Jack opened the door to find a woman, barefoot and shivering, her dark hair soaked, her face streaked with blood and mud. She collapsed into his arms. Only then did he notice the bulge beneath her tattered dress. She was pregnant. Without hesitation, Jack carried her inside, his instincts from a lifetime of helping others overriding every fear. She was Comanche. That much he could tell from her beaded necklace and the ceremonial symbols stitched into what was left of her shawl. But the who and why didn't matter yet, she needed help. Over the following days, Jack worked tirelessly to nurse her back to health. He boiled roots, cleaned her wounds, and cooked hot meals, though she barely spoke at first. The woman, whom he later learned was named Ayanna, had been running from something, or someone. Her tribe had long been fractured, many scattered, and she had been living on the edge of reservation land when she was caught in the crossfire of a local land dispute turned violent. Her partner was gone. She had fled into the mountains, guided only by survival instincts and hope. As the days passed into weeks, Jack and Ayanna settled into a quiet rhythm. She helped with chores when she could, and in return, Jack taught her how to tend to the livestock and chop wood safely. There were moments of laughter, rare, but precious. He found himself talking more, sharing stories from his past, and even showing her an old photograph of his late wife. Ayanna listened with a kind, unjudging heart. In her eyes, he saw a quiet strength that mirrored his own pain. Then one stormy night, Ayanna went into labor. The howling wind outside was matched only by her cries inside. Jack, drawing on every ounce of his medic training and sheer will, stayed by her side through the night. At dawn, the cries changed, the baby was here. A girl, healthy, pink, and wide-eyed. Ayanna named her Waniya, meaning beautiful spirit, in her language. In the weeks that followed, the tiny cabin glowed with a kind of warmth Jack hadn't felt in years. He built a crib out of pine, carved little animals for the baby, and grew used to the lullaby of soft coos and tiny giggles. One cold morning, while holding Waniya near the fire, Ayanna whispered, "I don't know if we'll ever be safe, but I know my daughter has someone strong to look up to." Jack looked at her, speechless. Time moved on, and the mountain thawed into spring. Ayanna stayed longer than either of them expected. She began calling Jack Uncle Jack, but Waniya, now crawling and babbling, chose her own name for him. Dada. The first time she said it, Ayanna froze, tears welling in her eyes. Jack turned away, pretending not to hear, but that word echoed in his heart louder than anything ever had. "I can correct her," Ayanna offered gently. But Jack shook his head. "No," he said, voice thick. "She's not wrong." Months passed, and when Ayanna finally decided to leave, hoping to reconnect with distant relatives and start anew, Jack packed a small bag for them, carved her a walking stick, and kissed Waniya's forehead goodbye. A week later, a letter arrived. In it was a drawing, a smiling child between a mountain and a cabin, and one word scribbled in crayon at the top, home. Ayanna had written a note, "We'll come back when the snow falls again. She wants to see her dad." Jack stood there, letter in hand, as tears rolled down his weathered cheeks. He thought his life had ended with the death of his wife. But somehow, in opening his door to a stranger, his heart had been reborn. The lonely mountain man had saved a life, and unknowingly, had been saved in return. Sometimes family isn't about blood. It's about who shows up when no one else will. And sometimes, the greatest gift we can offer is simply shelter, of the body, and of the heart.